everyone, and welcome back to the Bloom and Well podcast. Today we're going to talk about something that I don't hear talked about enough in Christian spaces, and it's something that I know many of you are experiencing right now, even if you haven't quite put it into words yet. So we're talking about what happens to your identity when your body forces you to stop. So when you have spent your entire life being the helper, the servant, the one who shows up for everyone, and then suddenly you just can't function anymore, and your entire sense of who you are has been so wrapped up in what you do, and now you can't do any of it. And you've believed that your worth comes from serving. It comes from being useful, from being the strong one. And now you're weak and you have no idea who you are. So if you are a Christian woman who has always prided yourself on being capable, on serving your family and your church and your community, and now your body is shutting down and you feel completely lost, this episode is for you. Because here's what I've learned. Sometimes God has to force us to stop because we don't choose to stop on our own. Mind you, rest is a commandment, right? Taking a Sabbath is a commandment. And in that stopping, in that forced stillness, there is this identity crisis that happens. This reckoning with who we really are when we strip away all of the doing. So let's talk about that today. Let's talk about this identity crisis that happens when your body just gives up and says no more. And then let's talk about what God might be doing in the breaking. So let me ask you something. Who are you when you are not doing anything for anyone? Who are you when you are not serving? When you can't show up? When you can't be the one that everyone depends on? I'm guessing that you don't know because you never had to think about it, right? You've always been the one who serves. You've always been the one who helps. You've always been the one who carries everyone else. That's just who you are, right? Everyone sees that as your personality, your character, like that's just you. And in all actuality, it's not. It really isn't. People think that you're the mom who does everything for the kids. You're the wife who takes care of her husband. You're the daughter who checks on your aging parents. You're the friend who's always there when anyone needs you. And you're the woman at church who volunteers for everything, who brings all of the meals, who organizes the events, who shows up early and stays late. And you're the one that people can count on. And you've built this entire identity around that. And your worth comes from being useful, from being needed, and from being that servant. But then something happens and your body breaks down, or you get hit with an autoimmune disease or a chronic illness, or burnout hits. Maybe it's a mental health crisis or a season of this violently deep exhaustion that you cannot physically get out of bed. And suddenly you can't do any of it anymore, right? You can't serve, you can't help people, and you can't show up. And then that question haunts you, like this question that keeps you up at night. If I'm not serving, who am I? So let me share a bit more about my story. When I was bedridden for almost a year and diagnosed with everything from anxiety to MCAS to POTS, Hashimoto's, long COVID, chronic fatigue syndrome, you name it, I couldn't work. I couldn't serve. I couldn't take care of anyone. I couldn't be there for my friends, for my patients. I couldn't do anything. I had to resign from the clinic I was working at. And I remember lying in bed one day, many days actually, and I was staring at the ceiling and I kept thinking, like, I don't even know who I am anymore. I don't even, like, what is my purpose? I don't even feel like I have a purpose. Why am I even here? Because my entire identity had been wrapped up in what I could do for other people. I was the helper. I was the encourager. I was everyone's cheerleader, always making people laugh and smile. And I was the one that had it all together and the one who served. And when I couldn't do any of that, I felt like I had disappeared. And honestly, everyone else did too. Friends, family, patients, partner. I felt like I had no value, like I had no purpose, and like I didn't even know who I was. And the painful part was I was sitting there thinking, God is disappointed in me. He's angry. He's punishing me. I've done something terribly wrong. Mostly because I thought it was that I wasn't being a good steward of my gifts, right? I wasn't serving others. I wasn't filling my purpose. I was lying there in bed, useless, worthless, and God was just punishing me even more, right? Have you felt that? Because I have a feeling I'm not the only one, right? Like, have you ever felt like you are letting everyone down because you can't be who you've always been? Have you ever felt like your value has disappeared because you can't do the things that used to define you? And that feeling, that is the identity crisis. And it's, in all actuality, it's not really a crisis at all. It's really an invitation. So let's talk about the lies for a moment, because I think we really need to name these. And the first really big lie is that my worth comes from what I do. This is the lie that so many Christian women have internalized. We believe that we are valuable because we serve, and that we are worthy because we are useful, and we matter because we do things for other people. And we have Bible verses back it up, right? Serve one another in love. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord. We've been taught that serving is our calling, and that sacrifice is godly, and that pouring ourselves out for others is what we are supposed to do. you. And I want to challenge that because all of that is true and service is important and love is important. But somewhere along the way, that has been twisted and we turned our doing the source of our worth instead of the overflow of our worth. So we started to actually believe that we are only valuable if we're productive and we're only serving or if we're serving and if we're useful. And so when we can't do these things, even if it's just I had the flu for a week, even when we can't do these things, we have this identity crisis because we don't know who we are without the doing. And the next big lie is I am responsible for everyone else's well-being. You have taken on responsibility for other people's emotions, other people's needs, other people's problems. So if your husband or your partner is unhappy, it's your job to fix it. If your kids are struggling, it's your fault. If someone at church needs help, you have to be the one to do it. You've made yourself responsible for everyone else. And when you can't carry that anymore, it feels like you're failing. But you were never meant to carry everything and everyone else. Jesus is the one who carries. You are not Jesus, okay? The next big lie, rest is selfish. This is one of the biggest mindset shifts that I had to have in order for me to literally go from being bedridden to having my life back, okay? This is the one. This is the one that is so deeply ingrained in women. We have been taught that rest is lazy, that taking care of ourselves is selfish, that if we are not constantly giving and serving and sacrificing, we are not being Christ-like. So when our bodies are forcing us to rest and when we physically cannot keep going, we start to feel guilty and we start to feel all of this shame and self-hatred even. And we feel like we're failing God, like we're disappointing our friends, our family, and like we're being selfish. Like we should be able to push through. I can do all things through Christ, right? But really, rest is not selfish. Rest is biblical. It is a commandment. God even demonstrated this for us, right? God rested on the seventh day. Jesus withdrew to rest. The Sabbath was created for rest. So rest is not rebellion. Sloth and laziness, that is different, but rest, intentional rest, is obedience. Another big lie is that God is disappointed in me. This is the one that breaks my heart the most because I know there are so many of you that actually believe this. You believe that because you can't serve right now, because you can't do all of the things that you used to do, that God is disappointed in you. And you believe that you are letting him down and that you're not living up to your purpose or you're not using your gifts, you're wasting them. But listen to me, God is not disappointed in you, okay? He is not looking at you in your exhaustion, in your illness, in your weakness, in whatever chaotic time of your life, in your inability to do anything, and just shaking his head in disappointment. God is merciful and loving, and he's looking at you with compassion. He is looking at you with tenderness because he knows, right? God knows that you've been carrying so much, and he knows that you've been running on empty, and he knows that you've been trying so hard to be everything for everyone. And sometimes he will let your body break so that your heart can be healed, so that your heart can be softened. Let's take a minute to talk about what's actually happening when your body forces you to stop, because I don't think this is random. I think everything, in fact, happens for a reason, and that includes chronic illnesses and crashes and things like that. So, and I don't think that this is punishment, and I don't think that it's God being cruel. I think it's truly an invitation for something deeper. And what I learned from my own experience when I was very ill and bedbound is God will sometimes use our physical breaking to reveal our spiritual breaking. So when your body is shutting down, well, this is, let me back up a little bit. This is the little hierarchy that I think of. Okay, everything starts in the spirit, it comes down into the mental, emotional, and then it manifests in the physical. Okay, so when your body shuts down, it's not just your body that's exhausted, right? Your mind and your spirit are also exhausted. Your soul is tired. You have been running on your own strength for way too long. Your body is finally breaking down, okay? Because the physical is the last. So you've been trying to earn your worth probably for years or decades through your works, and you're performing instead of resting in who you are in Christ. And God, in all of his mercy, says enough. Not because he's angry with you, not because he's disappointed even, but because he loves you so much that he doesn't want to let you keep destroying yourself. So he lets your body break. Think about Job. He let those things happen, right? He lets your body break so that you will finally stop and listen. Well, listen to what? That's the $1 million question, right? To listen to the truth about who you really are. You are not what you do. You are a beloved child of God, and you are chosen, and you are known, and you are valued, not because of what you can accomplish, but because of who you are, because he creates all of us divinely, intricately, uniquely, and we all have a purpose, right? Your worth was established on the cross, and it has nothing to do with how much you serve, with how useful you are, with how much you accomplish, because you are loved fully, completely. You are loved exactly as you are right now. Not if you lose the weight, not if you heal your body, not if you start serving more, not if you get that better job or make more money or have more kids, but right now, even in weakness, even in illness, even in your inability to do anything. And even more so, especially in those times of weakness and illness and darkness, right? Because that is when you finally stop trying to earn what's already been given to you. So when I was in a bedbound state, the first few months I fought so hard. Honestly, it was the first 8 months, okay? 8 months I fought. I felt like a failure. I felt guilty. I prayed God would either heal me or take me home so that I could just get out of the pain mentally, physically, spiritually. But he didn't heal me. He didn't fix anything. He didn't take me home, not immediately, right? And so in that really long and painful season of this forced stillness, and I was sitting there and I was forced to think about things, to look back on who I had been, what I had done in my life, where I wanted to go, what my actual purpose was, right? And to actually have time and enough quiet to listen to him. And so something really started to shift, and I started to hear God differently, not as this taskmaster who was demanding my service, but as a father who was inviting me to rest. And I started to understand that my relationship with him, it wasn't based on what I could do for him, right? It wasn't based on works. It was based on what he had done for me. And I started to learn who I was apart from all of the doing. And it was terrifying, okay? It was so scary at first because I didn't know that person. I didn't recognize that version of me. That's not who I've always been, right? But slowly I started to discover, like, I'm still me even when I can't do something. I'm still loved even if I can't serve. I'm still valued even when I'm weak. And that's when the real healing started. And I've just made exponential progress since, right? Not just in my body, but in my mind and soul too. So how do you rebuild your identity when everything that you thought you were has been stripped away? Let's get into some practical advice here, because this is a heavy topic. First, you have to grieve what you lost. And let me tell you, I grieved for a long time. You have to grieve. You have to let it go. You have to let all of those emotions out, because you've lost your ability to serve in the way that you used to. You have lost your role as the capable one, and you have lost your sense of purpose that came from doing. And that's a real loss, like a heavy loss. And it is okay to grieve it. Don't try to push past the grief, because if you try to push past it, I promise you, it will come back and hit you at a later date 100 times harder. And don't just try to spiritualize all of this away and say, God has a plan or this is for my good, because yes, that is very valid. But if you just say that and you don't handle the grief and process it, you're still going to have all of that internalized, and it's going to be a bad time. Okay. So yeah, all of those things are true, but you can still grieve, right? You can still sit with that sadness. You can still cry about it. You can still journal about it. You can still pray about it and tell God how hard it is, because he can handle it. Even if you can't, he can. He's not scared of it. He's not scared of anything that you've been through. You've got to separate who you are from what you do. And this is hard, and it takes time, and this is something that I'm still working on. But you have got to start practicing seeing yourself the way that God sees you. Not as a servant, not as a helper, not as someone who is valuable because of what they accomplish, but as a beloved daughter, period. No questions asked. Because your identity is not the woman who serves at church, or so-and-so's husband that takes care of him, or so-and-so's mom. Your identity is a child of God, okay? Your identity is not the mom who does everything for her kids and all of that. Your identity is, I am loved by the creator of the universe, period. Like that is it. That is you, right? Start practicing this. And when you catch yourself thinking, I'm worthless, I can't do anything, I'm just a terrible human being, just stop that thought in its tracks and say that again. I am a child of God. Replace it with the truth. I am loved because I am his. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. This one is hard, but you have to learn to receive instead of only give, okay? So many of us have learned to give, but we don't know how to take. We don't know how to receive. And it's so uncomfortable for us to receive, right? To take from anyone. And in this season, you've got to learn to receive, okay? You have to learn to let people help you. You have to learn to let others serve you. You have to learn to accept that you are the one who needs support right now, okay? And you have to learn to receive from God too, because God's got so much for you, but you can't have it if you aren't open to receiving it. Not an assignment, not salvation even, not a task, not his love, not his presence, not his rest. Those things have to be received, right? He can knock on that door, but if you don't open it, he's out there by himself. So sit in his presence without trying to do anything for him. Not like literally just sit there and be with him. You don't have to worship. You don't have to study your Bible. Just sit and be with him. Nothing more, okay? And it is going to be one of the most uncomfortable experiences because you're used to performing for him. But he doesn't want a performance. He doesn't want works. He wants you. You also have to learn to rebuild slowly, okay? When you start to heal physically, emotionally, spiritually, you are going to be tempted to jump right back into everything that you were doing before because that's all you know, right? That was comfortable. But I am begging you, please, 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 please do not do that. Rebuild your life slowly, rebuild it carefully, intentionally, with a strong prayer life, and ask yourself before you say yes to anything, okay? Am I doing this because I feel called to? Am I doing this because I need to prove my worth? Am I serving from overflow? Am I serving from emptiness? We've got to learn to say no, to set healthy boundaries, to protect our peace. And it sounds selfish, and you're gonna feel guilty for a while, but this is stewardship, okay? God gave you one body, He gave you one life, and He wants you to steward it well. That means not running yourself into the ground trying to serve everyone else. And let me talk about rebuilding my life for a moment to kind of put this into perspective for you. So when I started getting my strength back and I was learning, to stand up without a lot of symptoms and learning to walk again and walk from one end of the house to the other and all of these things, I had so many opportunities to jump back into things, right? To start serving immediately and heavily and to say yes to everything. And I was encouraged by many people to do it, right? But I didn't. I said no to almost everything for almost a full year, if not more, actually, because I needed to protect my energy. I needed to guard my time. So I only said yes to things that felt like a genuine calling and not an obligation. And you know what happened? I healed. I really and truly healed, mentally, physically, spiritually, okay? But also my relationship with God, right? And understanding my worth and my sense of who I am. And now when I serve, it's different. It's not from this place of proving my worth, but from this place of overflow. And it's not because I feel like I have to do it, but I get to do it, right? It is an honor and a pleasure and a beautiful opportunity. So here's what I want to leave you with today. I know if you've come this far into today's episode, you're probably in a lot of pain right now. And this identity crisis is probably one of the hardest things that you've ever been through. But I really want you to consider, what if this breaking is actually a gift? What if God is using this forced stopping to show you who you really are? And what if He's dismantling this false identity, this identity that is built on performance and productivity, so that He can reveal your true identity? And what if He's teaching you that you are loved not for what you do, but who you are? And I know it's a painful lesson because I've been through it, right? But it's also one of the most freeing lessons that you will ever learn. Because once you know, once you truly, deeply understand, deep in your bones, that your worth is not tied to your productivity and everything that you do and how you serve and showing up for everyone, everything changes for you. And you stop performing, you stop pushing so hard, you stop striving and just running this rat race, and you stop trying to earn what's already been given to you. And you start resting in who you are in Christ. If you are in this identity crisis right now, I am so terribly sorry, but I'm so happy that you found this episode today. And if you're laying there and you're lying in bed and you're wondering who you are without all of this doing and action and service, you're not alone. And in this season, as hard as it is, I promise you it's not wasted, because God is doing something in you. He is rebuilding your foundation. He is teaching you who you really are. And if you want additional support in this season, if you need someone who understands both the physical exhaustion and the spiritual crisis that comes with it, I am happy to be here. Our community is happy to be here. And we will link some free and coaching services below, some free resources as well as paid. No pressure to you, but I want you to have some options available. And what we do is we help rebuild your identity in truth, and we help your nervous system regulate so that your body can recover. And we create this space for you so that you can grieve, you can rest, you can recover and move forward and discover who you are apart from all the doing. So if this has been beneficial for you, we would love it if you would like, share, comment, and subscribe. Comment one takeaway, what have you learned from today's episode? How has it benefited you? And how are you going to use this to move forward? And next time we're going to talk about your digestive tract. So your gut-brain axis, how they're connected, and what your gut knows that your doctor doesn't know. Because I promise you, your body knows best. So take care of yourself, friend, and we'll see you next time.